Chapter 48. Command from the Stars. High above the chaos of the Earth's surface, aboard her command ship, the Vanguard, Cora watched the unfolding battle with a strategic eye. The situation was dire, but the recent successes, including Rook's disabling of the jammer, had given them a glimmer of hope. Now, it was time to capitalize on that momentum. Cora's voice was calm but firm as she communicated with Nakia, leading the ground assault. Nakia, prioritize civilian protection. We need to shield as many people as possible. Air cover is on its way. Rook came through for us. Nakia, coordinating the forces on the ground, acknowledged the order. Understood, Cora. We'll hold the line and keep the civilians safe. Turning her attention to the fleet, Cora issued her next set of orders, her mind a whirlwind of tactics and contingencies. All available pilots, launch in your mosquito crafts immediately. Target Drexarian landing crafts and ground forces. Provide support to our troops and disrupt the enemy's advancements. The response was immediate. Across the fleet, pilots swallowed their pills and boarded their mosquito units. The sleek, dart-like crafts launched from the ships, exiting through portals and entering Earth's atmosphere to join the fray. Their mission was clear: provide air support, attack Drexarian ground forces, and defend the planet's beleaguered defenders. Cora then addressed the captains of her ships. I want offensive maneuvers against the Drexarian ships. Pair up, 2 of our ships against 1 of theirs. Maximize the damage and knock them out of the battle faster. The ship captains responded with a chorus of affirmatives. The Space Lord's vessels, maneuverable and armed to the teeth, began their aggressive assault. 2 ships converged on each Drexarian vessel, unleashing a barrage of firepower. The strategy was effective, as Drexarian ships began to falter under the concentrated attack. Cora stood surveying the battle, her eyes flicking between the various screens displaying the conflict's many fronts. It was then she heard it. A faint whisper, almost imperceptible, like a ghostly echo in the vastness of the command center. She turned, searching for the source, but found no one nearby. The whisper came again, more distinct this time. Images flashed through Cora's mind. Rook and his team, beleaguered and outnumbered, Drexarians closing in on them. It was more than intuition. It was as if she was momentarily connected to the distant struggle, feeling the seriousness of their plight. Cora knew she had to act. The majority of her forces were already engaged, leaving her with limited options. But there was one resource yet to be tapped. Spartan Commander Leonix and his warriors. Their ship had been damaged early in the battle, and personnel redistributed, but he still had a skeleton crew. She reached out to him without hesitation. Leonix, how many men do you have ready to deploy? His response came swiftly. A few dozen, Warden. A smile flickered across Cora's face. A few dozen Spartans against a few hundred Drexarians, she mused. Hardly seems fair for them. Gather what adrenaline packs you can and meet me in the Vanguard's departure bay immediately. Leonix's reply was laced with eagerness to get back into the fight. Bad day to be a Drexarian. He then hurried off to gather his Spartans. In the departure bay of the Vanguard, Cora and Leonix's elite squad of Spartans assembled. Each warrior was a paragon of strength and discipline, their presence alone exuding confidence and resolve. They equipped themselves with the adrenaline packs, ready to enhance their already formidable capabilities. Cora addressed the Spartans, her voice firm and inspiring. We have a critical mission. Rook and his team are in dire need of support on the Drexarian command ship. We're going to provide that support. Spartans, your reputation precedes you. Let's show the Drexarians why. Leonix stepped forward, his armor gleaming under the bay lights. Spartans, today we fight not just for Earth, but for our brothers and sisters in arms. For Rook, for the fallen, for victory. Cora issued a final directive to the assembled Spartans. Hold off on using your adrenaline packs, she instructed. We need them to revive Rook and his team once we reach them. Our priority is extraction and support. The Spartans, understanding the critical nature of their mission, nodded in agreement. They were seasoned warriors, adaptable and ready for any challenge. Each was armed with a spear, a weapon chosen for the effectiveness of their explosive powers. Cora then ordered the activation of one of the mosquito portals. "We're going in hot. Expect resistance as soon as we land. Follow my lead," she said, her tone steady and commanding. The portal whirred to life, creating a gateway through space, aimed directly at the Drixarian command ship. One by one, starting with Cora, the Spartans sprinted and dove headfirst into the portal, propelled towards their target at incredible speeds. Emerging from the portal, the Spartans hurtled towards the command ship, their bodies slicing through the vacuum of space. As they neared the breach in the ship's hull, Cora led the charge, hurling her spear with deadly precision. The weapon soared through the breach, finding its mark among the Drixarian guards stationed inside. One after another, the Spartans followed suit, launching their spears with unerring accuracy. Each throw resulted in the elimination of a Drixarian guard, clearing their path for entry. Landing inside the command ship, Cora and her team swiftly materialized their swords, ready for the close combat that awaited them. The corridors of the ship were a maze, but they were guided by their link with Rook, a beacon leading them to their beleaguered comrades. The Spartans moved with purpose, their training and discipline evident in their coordinated movements. They encountered pockets of Drixarian resistance, but the element of surprise was on their side. Each engagement was swift and decisive, the Spartans cutting through their adversaries with the skill and ferocity that had forged their legendary reputation. As they navigated the ship's corridors, the sounds of battle growing nearer, Cora's thoughts were with Rook and his team. The link between them pulsed like a steady heartbeat, guiding them ever closer to their objective. Finally, they reached the chamber where Rook and his team were holding out. The scene was one of desperation. The Space Lords, exhausted and outnumbered, were on the brink of being overwhelmed. With a battle cry, Cora and the Spartans burst into the chamber, turning the tide in an instant. The Drixarians, taken aback by this sudden reinforcement, faltered under the renewed assault. Cora quickly made her way to Rook, offering him an adrenaline pack. "We've come for you. Time to get back in the fight," she said, lending him a hand. Cora, standing among the aftermath of the rescue, surveyed Rook and his team. They were drenched in the blood of their Drixarian foes, a testament to the ferocity of the battle they had endured. Her comment, half-joking yet laced with strategic insight, "Maybe if you allowed a few to surrender, they wouldn't be so eager to kill you." Rook, revitalized by the adrenaline but still bearing the weariness of battle, met Cora's gaze with a fiery star. "Never," he replied firmly. "I saw Zahak. He's here. We can end this." Cora, understanding the significance of Rook's words, nodded in agreement. Her mind was already formulating the next move. "Cut the head off the snake," she thought. "For real this time." With renewed purpose, Cora issued her orders. "We attack the throne room. It's time to confront Zahak directly." The combined force of Space Lords modern and ancient, led by Cora, Leonix, and Rook, made their way through the corridors of the command ship towards the throne room. The path was fraught with resistance, but their combined might was overwhelming. Each encounter with Drixarian soldiers was brief and decisive, the invaders falling before their relentless advance. As they neared the throne room, the intensity of the battle heightened. It was clear that the Drixarians were aware of the threat posed to their leader and were desperate to protect him. Finally, they breached the entrance to the throne room. The door slid open to reveal a scene of eerie calm. Zahak sat upon his throne, an imposing figure with a cold, calculating gaze. Beside him, still chained, was the woman who had been with him throughout, a silent, sad figure who bore witness to the unfolding drama. The throne room was vast, a grand chamber befitting the leader of the Drixarian forces. Zahak, upon seeing the intruders, rose slowly from his seat. His presence was commanding, his aura one of malevolent authority. Rook stepped forward, his resolve unshaken despite the odds. "Zahak," he called out, his voice echoing in the chamber. "Your reign of terror ends today. Zahak's response was a chilling smile. So, the conscripts have come to challenge their master. How quaint. In the tense atmosphere of the throne room, Cora faced Zahak with a steely expression. "Surrender, Zahak," she demanded, her voice echoing with authority. Her demand was met with a scornful laugh from the Drixarian leader, his contempt evident. Rook, fueled by a deep-seated desire for revenge, ignored his weakened state and charged at Zahak with a battle cry. But his efforts were in vain. Zahak, with a swift movement of his snake-like appendage, struck Rook, sending him crashing into the wall. The impact was a stark reminder of the Space Lord's depleted strength following their earlier adrenaline drain. Cora, ever the astute leader, recognized the dire situation. Stepping between the fallen Rook and the menacing Zahak, she confronted the alien tyrant head-on. With a powerful punch, she struck at one of Zahak's snakeheads, following up with a swift swing of her sword, severing the appendage from its body. For a brief moment, victory seemed within grasp, but the triumph was short-lived. To their horror, the severed snakehead regenerated, growing back as if unscathed. Zahak's mocking laughter filled the room. "You cannot defeat something as ancient as I," he sneered. "I have existed since before your planet teemed with life." In a display of his cruel power, Zahak's other snakehead lunged at one of the Spartans, biting directly into the warrior's chest and ripping out his heart in a gruesome show of strength. The throne room was filled with shock and rage. The Space Lords and Spartans realized they were facing an enemy unlike any other, an ancient being with seemingly immortal capabilities. Cora, undeterred by Zahak's display, regrouped with her team. They needed a new strategy, one that could counter Zahak's regenerative abilities. She scanned the room, her mind racing for solutions, aware that conventional tactics would not suffice against such a foe. "Focus on the guards," she commanded her team. "We need to isolate Zahak." Her voice was calm, but the order was clear. The Space Lords and Spartans adjusted their tactics, engaging Zahak's elite guards in an effort to corner the Drixarian leader. Zahak, realizing the shift in strategy, fought with a ferocity born of centuries of conquest and survival. His movements were fluid and deadly, his alien abilities making him a formidable opponent. Cora, Rook, and the others fought bravely, their every move a struggle against Zahak's overwhelming power. The battle in the throne room was intense, a clash of wills and strength between the defenders of Earth and the ancient alien tyrant. Cora swiftly formulated a new plan. Utilizing their psychic link, she communicated her strategy to Rook and Commander Leonix. "On my mark, we strike simultaneously. Rook, Leonix, aim for his heads. I'll go for the heart." The throne room was a tumultuous arena, the air charged with the energy of a desperate fight for survival. Rook and Leonix, understanding the plan, nodded subtly, positioning themselves on either side of Zahak. They readied their weapons, preparing for a coordinated strike. Cora, her eyes fixed on Zahak, waited for the perfect moment. The Drixarian leader, engrossed in his battle with the Space Lords and Spartans, was momentarily unaware of the impending coordinated attack. "Now!" Cora's mental command was sharp and clear. In a fluid motion, Rook and Leonix lunged forward. Rook, with a powerful swing of his blade, aimed at one of Zahak's snakeheads, while Leonix targeted the other with a strike honed by years of combat experience. Their movements were synchronized, a dance of deadly precision. Simultaneously, Cora charged at Zahak, her focus singularly on his chest, where his heart, if such a being had one, would be. She moved with the speed and agility that had become her trademark, her blade poised to strike a blow that she hoped would end Zahak's reign of terror. Zahak, sensing the coordinated attack, reacted with astonishing speed. His body twisted, attempting to evade the simultaneous strikes. Rook's and Leonix's blades met their mark, severing the snakeheads in a spray of alien blood. The severed heads fell to the floor, momentarily leaving Zahak disoriented. Seizing the moment of confusion, Cora thrust her sword forward with all her might, aiming for Zahak's chest. Her blade pierced his armor, plunging into the dark heart of the ancient enemy. The impact of the blow was immediate. Zahak let out a roar of pain and rage, a sound that reverberated through the throne room. His body convulsed as he grappled with the mortal wound inflicted by Korra. The Space Lords paused, their attention fixed on the scene before them. Zahak, weakened and wounded by the combined assault of Rook, Commander Leonix, and Korra, staggered under the unexpected ferocity of their attack. A look of bewilderment crossed his ancient features. In a voice rasping with pain and disbelief, he posed a single question to his assailants. "Who are you?" Korra, standing resolute with her blade plunged into the dark heart of the tyrant, responded gruffly, her voice echoing the strength of her united force. "Space Lord's motherfucker," she declared without hesitation, as she drew her sword free of his chest, rising it above her head, the blade glinting in the light of the throne room. With a swift and sure movement, she brought it down, severing Zahak's head from his body. The tyrant's head rolled across the floor, marking the end of his reign of terror and the fall of a seemingly invincible enemy. Zahak's eyes widened in shock and realization as he felt his centuries-long life force ebbing away. The invincible overlord who had thought himself beyond the reach of defeat was now facing the end at the hands of those he had once deemed mere conscripts, mere pawns in his grand design. In the aftermath of the fierce confrontation with Zahak, Korra's attention shifted to the woman who had been chained beside the tyrant for as long as anyone could remember. The woman, with a calm demeanor that belied the chaos that had just unfolded, began to unlock the chain that bound her. She moved with a purposeful grace towards the ship-to-ship portal located in the throne room. Korra, puzzled by the woman's actions, called out to her, "What are you doing? You're free now." A moment of confusion was evident in her voice. "Wait, did you just unlock yourself?" The woman paused, turning her head slightly to glance over her shoulder at Korra. Her eyes held a depth of knowledge and power that was unsettling. "You defeated only what you thought I was," she said, her voice carrying a chilling calmness. "The likes of you can never defeat me, Space Lord." With those enigmatic words, she stepped through the throne room portal, which snapped shut behind her, cutting off any chance of pursuit. The finality of the portal's closure resonated through the room, leaving a tangible sense of unease in the air. Rook, reacting to the sudden turn of events, rushed over to the spot where the portal had been, his fists pounding against the wall in frustration. "No, it can't be!" he shouted, the realization dawning on him as well. Korra, her mind racing, pieced together the shocking truth. The woman they had seen chained beside Zahak was not a prisoner or a mere bystander. She was Zahak, or at least an integral part of him. The creature they had fought and defeated was nothing but a puppet, a diversion crafted to conceal the true nature of their enemy. The revelation hit them with the force of a physical blow. The being they had thought to be Zahak, the tyrant they had fought so hard to defeat, was merely a facade. The real Zahak, or whatever the entity truly was, had been hiding in plain sight all along, manipulating events from behind the scenes. Korra stepped back, her mind grappling with the implications of this revelation. The victory they had just celebrated was now cast in a new, unsettling light. The enemy they thought they had vanquished was still at large, its true form and intentions unknown. The Space Lords and Spartans looked to Korra, their expressions that of confusion. The battle they had fought, the sacrifices they had made. What did it all mean in the face of this new knowledge? Korra, despite the shock, knew they needed to stay focused. "We need to regroup and reassess," she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil she felt inside. "This changes things, but our mission remains the same. We fight for Earth, for our freedom. We will find the real Zahak, whatever or whoever it is." The revelation in the throne room had sent ripples of shock and uncertainty through the ranks of the Space Lords, but it also solidified their resolve. The battle against the Drixarians on Earth, however, was reaching its climax, and the tide was turning in favor of the defenders. On the ground, Nakia, leading the Space Lords' forces, witnessed the moment the remaining Drixarians began to surrender. Their once indomitable spirit had crumbled in the face of the relentless and coordinated attacks by the Space Lords and their allies. The streets, once scenes of chaos and destruction, were now filled with the sight of Drexarian soldiers laying down their arms, their resolve broken. Nakia, standing tall among the ruins, accepted their surrender with wariness. This victory was hard won, a testament to the courage and resilience of those who had stood against the Drexarian menace. She knew, however, that the battle for Earth was but one part of a larger war. The true Zahak remained at large, a shadowy threat that loomed over their hard-fought peace. Aboard the Zahak's command ship, Rook grappled with the complexity of their situation. The victory they had achieved was bittersweet, marred by the revelation of Zahak's deception. Lost in thought, he was brought back to the present by the sight of a Drexarian soldier attempting a final, futile act of defiance. With a warrior's instinct, Rook engaged the soldier, his movements a dance of precision and power. As he struck down the enemy with a decisive blow, he shouted, "For the fallen we strike!" His voice echoed through the ship, a rallying cry that had carried them through the darkest of times. The battle for Earth had ended, but the war was far from over. The Space Lords, now more united than ever, faced an uncertain future. The revelation of the true Zahak meant that their fight would continue, but they were ready. They had faced insurmountable odds and emerged victorious. They had transformed from conscripts into champions of freedom. As the dust settled on Earth, the Space Lords began to regroup and plan their next steps. Korra, Rook, Nakia, and the others knew that their journey was not yet complete. They would continue to fight, to protect Earth and the galaxy from any threat, no matter how formidable. The Space Lords had become more than just a force of resistance. They were a symbol of the power of unity and bravery. They stood ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, their spirits undimmed, their will unbroken.